Hi, my name's Steve Usher, and welcome to the Experienced Designers Podcast. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Experienced Designers. So today you'll meet Chantel Botha from Cape Town. Chantel is founder-director of BrandLove. And in this episode, we talk about her love for bringing back humanity into the workforce, and also her love for doing things differently and love for simplifying processes. So a lot of love in this particular podcast today. And she shares some really great insights and perspectives on working with organisations in South Africa and Africa, but also her thoughts on some of the systemic issues and challenges organisations and leaders are facing in today's business world. And also the segment towards the end with where we talk about BrandLove's unique business merchandise, in particular the F-Off spray. So I'll leave that one there with you. And in the meantime, enjoy the show. And thanks ever so much for listening. Hi, Chantel. Welcome to the Experienced Designers Podcast.
Hi, Steve. I'm really privileged to talk to you today.
Fantastic. And thank you so much for just giving me some time in your diary. I just would also like to take this opportunity to say thank you to Elsa as well, because she's been brilliant.
Elsa is the organization part of me where I just love being creative, and Elsa makes sure that I don't break any of my promises. So thank you for being patient with us.
Yeah, no, she's been brilliant. So I thought I'd mention that. For the audience, tell us a little bit about yourself and your background in your business and what you do.
Fantastic. So, I'm Chantal. I run a company called BrandLove. I'm the founder and CEO of BrandLove. And the company's been going for 3.5 years. And I think I was yearning to create, I think, an environment that I always longed for. I've been in corporate for 20 plus years working in financial services. Originally, my background was in computer science. So I studied computer science and maths. Which is something that not a lot of people know about me. And then I moved much more to the business side, management consulting, and really my passion for igniting great experiences for employees and customers.
Amazing. So why this line of work? Why this focus and passion?
I think I stumbled into a large transformation project for a company I was working for. And I just, started looking at customer experience and some of the frameworks and design thinking. And I think, totally by accident, I found a set of principles and models and really a philosophy that I could subscribe to.
Yes.
And I think at the core of it is just, if I had to boil it down to one word, it's like, creating kindness in the world. That's really what we do, is we train kindness. We show people how to design for kindness. And I just found a sweet spot that gives me and my BrandLove team a lot of purpose.
Excellent. I mean, I don't know if you saw, I'm sure you have. It's been pretty well documented. I think it was last year. Was it Gallup report showed, I think, just 15% of the workforce, and this is out of, I don't know, was it 155 countries? Just 15% were engaged, which says there's an awful lot of work to do in this area. I just feel really sad for people. Like, we need to, there's so much work to do out there to get people more engaged, and for, I think, employers to actually be held accountable for designing a much better experience for employees.
Yeah, and I mean, I think if I look at, and I think it probably, I need to caveat this, because I think part of my conviction comes with probably menopause and a midlife crisis. To know that you've got less time than what you've had.
Yes.
And I think so. Time is the one thing that I cannot buy for myself. And time is my one very, very limited resource. And when we run a program where we we say we ignite passion, purpose, and performance in people. And that's really teaching them that time is their most limited resource, and they have the ability to decide what they do with their time.
Yes.
And if you decide to follow a profession that your whole heart isn't into it, it's just do it very deliberately. Know that you might be choosing that for a specific reason.
Yes.
And be happy then with that choice that you're making. But staying captive in an environment where you're not engaged, where you're not living your passion, you're not living your purpose, and you're not performing either, actually it just erodes people's self-belief. It erodes their self-confidence, and it erodes how they show up in the world.
Yes.
And that's really, my wish for people is to, when they feel they're stuck,
yes.
That we take them through a process of becoming unstuck. And a lot of that captivity we see in a customer service environment. Large call centers have almost these epidemic proportions where they just, they feel they're so captive.
Yeah.
And therefore they give bad service often. Not
absolutely.
But because it's a systemic, it's almost a systemic issue.
It is. I use systemic a lot recently. Just tell me, so your business, is it purely focused on the African market specifically in terms of geographical focus?
So we have a kind of a very global outlook, and the models we use. We've got a lot of the frameworks we give away to people is used globally. So if I look at our typical audience, we've got a large following from your end of the world, from the UK. Yeah. Personally, I travel quite a bit to the States and the UK, so I get to do projects with global customers. Yeah. The majority of our work happens in South Africa and Africa. Yeah. I think we're sitting with interesting challenges, and I think just amazing opportunities in Africa. A lot of the countries in Africa, like Rwanda and Kenya, they never had, if we look at specifically customer experience, they've always had a very proud, they're proud nations. They're very proud of their countries. They know that a lot of their revenue comes from tourism. So you'll often find that the service is incredibly good. Also, I think Africa, when it comes to digital experiences, they've not spent very long in a desktop era. So they almost leapfrogged desktop and went straight to mobile.
Yes.
And that's why you'll see a lot of the experiences that you get from apps and from mobile interactions is exceptionally good, because they never had this legacy of, we have this website and we need to now retrofit this website so we can get it into mobile. They almost some of these companies started with a clean slate.
Interesting. And that provides some significant competitive advantage, because I know just my own experience. Let's just talk about tourism. I mean, my own experience with a very recent holiday, some of the websites were so noticeably poor on mobile. And this is in kind of Mexico or US, or, you would consider potentially far more developed in some ways, or had certainly a longer period of digital. It was really interesting. It was quite frustrating, actually, from a customer perspective. So it's really
Absolutely.
Interesting to hear that they've jumped to that.
Yeah, there's a company in Rwanda called Safe Moto, and they like the Uber of scooters. If you need it, that's the main way of getting transport in Rwanda is on the back of a scooter. So you'd call your Safe Moto like you would an Uber, and the driver's driving gets monitored with like gyro in the app and GPS on the app. So if they drive unsafely, they get rated without you giving them a rating. Their driving is monitored. Yes. And they get taken off the app if they're irresponsible drivers. Fantastic. Which I think it kind of leapfrogs that innovation. Very often, when we work with corporates, the word innovation kind of gives me a little bit of the creeps, because it's a very superficial. It's used very superficially. You know, we have customers saying, "Chantal, can you please come and work with us? We really want to be disruptive." Yeah. And then I work with them over a period of weeks, and you know, every day I engage with them. I said, "Well, yesterday you weren't being disruptive. Can we try again?" Yes. So I think you know, we sometimes in the most unconventional places, and I'm very proud to be based in South Africa and to be an African. Fantastic. Very, very proud, because I think you know, we've got all kinds of interesting language challenges, we've got economical challenges, and I think if I look at the examples of people that have just been very resourceful. They haven't claimed that, oh, I don't have enough budget, or I don't have the people. They've been exceptionally resourceful.
Yes. It drives a different type of creativity, doesn't it, I think? Just in terms of, you know, you have to, you don't necessarily have all the tools available. Therefore, you have to try and just, you work with what you've got with potentially more limited resource. But then how do you then really test the creativity side, isn't it? For sure. Yeah. So can I just, one of the areas that we wanted to talk to today, so there was a lot of love from the BrandLove owner on this podcast, where I asked for the three bullet points or areas you wanted to discuss. So each sentence started with love for, which I was like, that's brilliant. So the first one, which I was really keen on, because it's such a massive topic at the moment, which is around humanizing the workforce. So I think there was your specifics was the love for bringing humanity back into the workplace. So just tell me a little bit about that. What the passion lies within that subject for yourself?
Well, you know, when I founded this brand 5 years ago, I think my outlook at the time was that, you know, our work would be very process oriented, and that we design these amazing, neat journeys that would result in these beautiful maps being displayed somewhere on a wall. And I know the maps on the wall never kind of ignite change, but I thought our work would be neat, and our work turned out to be quite messy at a human level. And a lot of the requests we get from our customers are, you know, they describe the environment to be one where, you know, when the employee enters the workplace and they scan in their card and the turnstile turn and they get to their desk, they get very transactional and process oriented. Yeah. And they say, well, we can't understand that they cannot bring compassion and empathy and emotion to work. And we look at how they've designed, you know, everything in the workplace, and it hasn't been designed for that. It's been designed for following a couple of transactional processes and methods, and my KPA is quite transactional, and when you measure me and have performance discussions with me, it's quite transactional. My pay slip is transactional, my process is requesting leave is transactional, and we go, well, nothing in this environment has been designed for empathy and for showing up as a human being. You know, the people that come with, hey, my child is sick, or hey, I've got some marital problems, they immediately flagged as being high maintenance. You know, is that situation again. Yes. And I think there's a lot of fear around actually showing up and being yourself in the workplace. So a lot of what we work with, contrary to what I thought we would do, is work with fear in the workplace and work with leadership to say, well, how do you need to show up differently to allow people to come to work as human beings? Because if I ask someone, what does great service look like to you? If you go to a restaurant with your family, what is it that you want? And they go, well, actually, you know, we want great food, but that's kind of a given. But we want memories for our family. So they know deeply what fantastic service looks like. They know what it feels like. They can describe and give me examples of people that have, you know, given them great memories. But then they come to the workplace and they show up very transactionally. And I think it's a design. I'm going to use the word systemic again because you love it. So it's a systemic design. It's a systemic design problem. And then I think there's fundamentally, I think we've come through an education system where we were driven to compete. So everything was about being better than the person next door to you.
Yes.
It was also very much around a portfolio of evidence to show us that you can tick that box. You getting the mark for this subject,
Yes.
but a very, very low equipping people with tools to collaborate with other human beings, to communicate with other human beings. So I'm in coaching relationships with executives that are the top of their craft. They're masterful in how they manage the businesses, but they really lack the ability to lead and inspire the people in that business. So I think that a lot of BrandLove's time goes into non-profit activities around working with teachers in schools, working with children, and equipping them with those interpersonal skills. I think our next big frontier is going to be with the advent of robotics and automation. Is going to be a whole different level of collaboration and an ability to really communicate with each other.
Yes, it's fascinating, because I think there's a proportion which is going, as you say, within the children demographic age group. So how are we teaching them different to what we've taught them about what you mentioned about ticking boxes, or though not too old school, because then those behaviors and habits are formed and then into the workplace. So you've kind of got this kind of next generational focus, but then also kind of a current generation of leadership and management as well, in terms of behavioral change, or how they're seeing the business in a very kind of much, I guess, more from a, is there talk at that level? Are you seeing more talk around experience design or employee experience generally? Are you seeing it much more on the agenda at a senior level?
I am seeing a lot more requests for, can you come and help us? A lot of the time the request comes without knowing exactly, what do I need to come and help them with? And we see two drivers of that change. The one is absolute fear, fear of becoming irrelevant, fear of competition.
Yeah.
And then there's, the desire to shift something. So we're almost seeing fear when there's been some kind of an incident that goes like, all right, so we've had way too many cases of employees that have left disgruntledly because something just went horribly wrong in their journey, and then they start paying attention. Or alternatively, when the competitors launch a really innovative product that comes with a service offering that's totally unrivaled. So I think I'm still, if I look at our entire project portfolio, I'm still not seeing kind of that deep commitment to humanity and kindness just because it's the right thing to do.
Yeah,
I think there's still a lot of the, all right, Chantel, we buy this employee journey thing. Can you tell us the ROI? And some of it, I sound a little bit like an evangelist for some really passionate group of people. And some of it I say, yes, there's the mathematician in me and the accountant in me that want to show you the models of how we're going to measure this. But there's also the passionate person in me that says, you've got to have a conviction. And some of this you just have to believe. And you have to look at some of the people that have gone before you, because we're not, in the kind of stuff we do, there's not people, there's not a lot of pioneers. The pioneers have been through some of this. A lot of what we do, people want to say, well, it's new, but it's not. Frankly, if I look at the people I admire in the CX space, Lou Carbone, a lot of these people have been doing this stuff for the last 20, 25 years.
Yes.
There's a lot of examples to learn from, and to say, well, if you look at Southwest Airlines, that commitment to their people have brought them have brought them just incredible success.
Yeah. And those examples you gave there around, the either you have high attrition due to something going wrong, or, a competitor releasing something that looks better or slicker, it still feels reactive. They're reacting to the market or something that's already happened, rather than actually trying to get ahead of it and with a much more kind of experience-led approach.
And what I've started doing recently, and I posted quite a bit on LinkedIn about it, is defining, what a lot of companies say, well, we want to do journey design and we want to do service design and design thinking. And I'm going, well, what do you want to design into your experiences? What is your experience essence? And they go, well, I don't know what that is. And it's, it's like the perfume we wear. What is it? If I phone you, what's the perfume I feel and I smell in that call? Yeah. If I go into your offices, what is that? What is that DNA strand that when I strip your brand off, I still know that it's you. I distinctly know that it's you. Yeah. And I think that's been a difficult journey for a lot of brands, is to, they know their CI and they know what their corporate identity looks like, and they kind of have a very transactional tone of voice. Thou shalt say this and thou shalt not say that. But it's what's the emotion you want to associate with your brand. So we've started being a lot more assertive when it comes to that. Some of the work, like journey design, we will not do that until we've taken you through a process of saying, what's your essence? Yeah. How will I know it's you? And how will I know it's you when I'm your employee? Yes. And how will I know it's you when I'm your customer?
Yes.
And what are some of the leadership commitments that I can hold you to for your employees? And what are some of the design principles and behaviors I can hold you to from a design perspective? So we end up with a one-page artifact that beautifully articulates very, very succinctly. So I can wake any employee up at 3:00 in the morning and say, what does your brand stand for? What is your DNA? What's your essence? Yeah. And they should just be able to tell me. And whether they make tea or whether they craft corporate strategy, they should be able to tell me how they deliver that.
Yeah. Go on. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. And then it's about sticking with that. So if you've defined what you are, then it's about being what you are, and everybody holding each other accountable. I had a situation with a customer the other day where they've got the decision principles that they as an executive committee have committed to, and they were trying to do something that was against that. And I pulled that out and I said, all right, I'm either getting the idea that you want to go and change this, or alternatively, you're trying to make a decision here that's got a very short-term outlook that goes against these decision principles that we laid down a month ago.
Yes.
And that's about holding each other accountable. So we either change this, this was either a bad idea to put this principle up here, to say this is the way we're going to make decisions to the benefit of our employees and to the benefit of our customers. So either it was a bad idea putting it here, or you're being pressured into making a decision that violates this.
Yes. So can I ask, if let's just say there's a leader listening to this podcast now, what would you say are some of the guiding principles or considerations, I guess, if they were going to engage in some form of change or innovation process towards kind of experience design or approaching this kind of work?
I think it's about being clear where you want to get to.
Yeah.
And it's about being very honest about your motives. I would rather have a customer say to me, listen, our profits are dwindling. We're purely doing this for the money. Than say to me, we want to be hugely client-centric, and, the latest buzzword is an employee experience and customer experience and digital experience. And, can you put together a model of transformation? And they buy into the concept for the pure reason that they've heard that this is how you keep customers and get customers coming back to you. Yeah. So I think it's about coming back to to the truth. I often say, customer experience is a little bit like teenage sex. You don't know what you're getting into until you do it, and then you kind of started something. So there's no going halfway.
Yeah.
It's like I often get the call to say, "Oh, we've got this beautiful journey map on the wall, Chantel. What do we do now? Can you come and make our people now do what's on the journey map?" And I go, I love to believe I've got superpowers, but I can't make another human being do anything that they don't believe in their hearts.
Yeah.
And often we have to forget that the map is on the wall. Often we have to go back to the drawing board and say, all right, so these are the building blocks that's missing. These are the blocks that we need to get a strong foundation in place. And often the map is there. The map has been designed in isolation. And if I ask about the essence, they still don't know what is the experience essence. What do they want the most junior person to do?
Yeah.
So we know it's them.
Yeah, wonderful. The next area, which was the next love area, was the love for doing things differently, which I thought was interesting. Tell me about that. Tell me a little bit about why you wrote that.
Yeah, I mean, I think us as human beings, I think the reason why we're still around, because I mean, physiologically, we weren't built to be very fast, or very strong.
No.
So in nature, we're actually a freak of nature that we managed to survive for so long in such harsh conditions.
And we are getting freakier and freakier as the years go on. For sure.
Absolutely. And with kind of body transplants and brain transplants and head transplants and robotics.
Genetic engineering, yeah.
The age reversal thing could really work for me, I must say. So I think the fact that we can recognize patterns and respond to patterns is probably one of the things that kind of made us survive for so long. Mm. The unfortunate thing about patterns is it doesn't take you very long to get into a pattern, especially when it's a fear-driven pattern. If you burn your hand and it's hot, you're not going to touch it again. Mm. Maybe as a kid you do it twice and then listen, don't touch the hot stuff. But I think very often what we see in corporate environments and the reason why people don't do things differently, if we challenge them, they often respond with a story about a fear that they have that's quite a unfounded and a very old fear. Mm. So if we ask, this is an idea. Have you tried this? They'll go, no, that will definitely not work. And we go, well, why do you say that won't work? They go, no, someone tried it 5 years ago.
Yeah.
And didn't work. It was a total failure.
Yeah. And
they're no longer around. And we go, well, if we're starting to say, well, we need to embrace failure, how about trying it again? Mm. And they go, no, compliance will never allow us to do that. And we go, well, have you had the discussion with compliance? They go, no, we know those guys. Yeah. So I think that's really people get stuck in old fears about old stories that no longer has a relevance. And I think if we look at the patterns that develop in organizations, I used to work for an organization that had a restructuring every 5 years. And at 4.5 years, people would get crazy. They would go like,
fascinating.
It's almost upon us. And I remember I was new at the time when we had the first restructuring. I'd been there about 6 months and I went like, what's going on here? They go, no, don't you know? It's that and they told me, and I said, well, just, update your CVs, do a course, just pick a pet project and just overperform. They go, no, it doesn't work like that.
Wow.
So I think doing things differently often it's not revolutionary stuff. It's just, I think, I said to my team and I'm just to use foul language, you can bleep it out, but
sure.
I said to my team at the beginning of this year, we had our first meeting. I said to them, this year, we're going to just run a laboratory and try different things. And I said to them, so what I'm telling you, it's impossible to fuck up.
Yeah.
I said, we're going to make a lot of mistakes, but it's going to be impossible to fuck up. And really what I was saying to them is, it's okay to mess up. Yeah. It's really okay. I want us to fail more often this year. I want us to fail fast. And I want us to use every failure as a learning opportunity. Yeah. That does not mean we're going to do poor quality work. That means we're going to do more courageous work. Yeah. We're going to try new things. Yeah. And we're going to end up with something that's really differentiated and something that's remarkable, that's going to get our clients to a remarkable end result with less budget. Because we know, we're kind of in a little bit of an economic winter here. Yeah. People don't have a lot of money to spend on innovation, to spend on fixing some of the errors of the past. Mm. And very often we go in and we lift the carpets and we sweep everything that's been, shoved under the carpet for years. We take it out and we say, we need some air in here. We need to, some of these fears, we need to confront them either with courageous conversations or just walkthroughs of what are some of these limiting assumptions you're making. Yeah. Because often it's not, it's always IT and compliance and processes and that's never the issue.
No. And how do you think, or what do you think about having perhaps only fairly recently come across design thinking and learned all about it in the process? So, from my experience, that was like a real wow moment of actually it encourages learn by doing. It encourages to make mistakes. It encourages to break down barriers and bring people from all areas of the organization together. So I think there's some tools out there that are obviously being used for many years, but I still think there's a long way to go actually. But what do you think of these tools and maybe agile and design sprints and all these types of tools that are out there that are really, I think, potentially helping this type of conversation?
Yeah, I think it's magnificent. And I think just the generosity of people around the world to share their tools and give their tools away. And absolutely. That's just magnificent. I think what I'm seeing in the environments where we work, if I say design thinking, some of our customers go, oh, that's very academic. And you know what? We don't have the skills internally to do that. We're going to have to get a consultancy to do that. The same for agile, the same for, so I think a lot of, I think a lot of even the terminology scare people a little bit.
Interesting.
So the reason why we've started just giving away so much stuff and why we just want to make people smarter and we want to demystify some of this that, it's only for the academic and you need to go to the D school and really study design thinking. And I think D school is magnificent. I think, those boot camps that they run is just phenomenal.
Yes.
But I think just demystifying that this is for the privy few that have been through some certification to lead it. That everybody, so often we run our workshops, and we use a lot of Lego serious play because we just find it an amazing thinking tool. Yeah. And we run a workshop and people go, whoa, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I go, well, you've just done design thinking.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what we've just done. We just didn't go through all of those steps, but everything you've now done, we've really personified the customer. We've had interviews. We've done empathy mapping. We've done, prototypes. And they go, oh, is that all it is? And I go, yes, that's all it is.
But that is the reaction, though. It's the perception versus the reality of it. It's anyone can do it. Actually, it's not. I'm sure that there's a lot of designers that would say, no, it's a designer's discipline. But actually, if you get the process right, it's and a good facilitator, then there's some magic that comes out of it for sure.
Yeah, no, I think I get interviewed quite a bit, and the question I get most is, well, how did you manage to build such a kind of a prominent, kind of global view brand in such a short space of time? And it's by practicing what we preach.
Yeah.
We we spend a fair amount of time doing empathy mapping for our customers. If we start working with a new leader, we do extensive empathy mapping to look at what's going on in their world, what's keeping them awake at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
What are they worried about? Because sometimes what we worried about from a delivery perspective is not what they worried about. And you really want to solve problems for them.
Yeah.
And if they're not worried about the right stuff, we want to switch on a light and support and guide them in a way where they start worrying about the right stuff.
Yeah, wonderful.
Sometimes the 3 a.m. moments is about really short-term stuff, and we can see long-term. There's a train coming, and the train's going to hit you.
Yeah.
So I think it's about practicing what you preach.
Yeah, totally agree. This one will actually leads on rather well now, I think. So the love for simplifying process, which you mentioned as your kind of third point, because it was interesting. We're looking at your LinkedIn profile. I could see your background's you very much around project management, wasn't it, earlier in your carear?
Yeah,
so I imagine you were process. I would imagine the first part of your career.
You know what? I spent a number of years coding. I was a developer. I was pretty shite at that. I couldn't sit still long enough. And then I spent a number of years project managing, program managing, and then I headed up digital for a few companies. And the project management, I think because I'm inherently very creative, the limitations that come with being super organized, and that's why I have an ALSA.
Yeah.
So I think some of the creativity that suffers in the process of being organized, but I think saying that, I think in terms of delivering and executing on creativity, you need to be very, very organized. Mm-hmm. But I think it's about that single focus. And very often when people say to me, so, some of the programs that we've run that have been hugely successful, they go, well, was it difficult? And I go, no, it wasn't difficult. It's actually, it's not complicated, but it's hard.
Yeah.
It's doing 100 things slightly differently. Yeah. And I think us as human beings, we want significance through having a big idea and then implementing that big idea. But very often it's about, 5 little ideas and just tweaking things, just incrementally tweaking things, and then having the confidence to say, I'm willing to wait for the success once I've tweaked these 5 things. And I think that thing of trying and sometimes we get it right and sometimes you don't get it right.
Yeah. And
just keeping on going. I was talking to someone yesterday and I said, around ideas, so we love coming up with different ideas, and because we work across industries, we've kind of become idea generators, because one thing that works in financial services, if you slightly change that idea and you apply it to retail, you just get magic. But every month I kind of spend a little bit of time standing at this ideas graveyard of all the ideas that the customers didn't implement, and I mourn them, and then I move on, and next day I go, team, listen, it's when we stop having heartache about some of the ideas that just dies prematurely, because a lot of people tell me the time's not right, and I go, well, with this whole digital photography thing, the time wasn't right for Kodak.
Yeah.
What happened with them, and I'm still sad about Kodak.
Yeah.
So I think it's about I just love that etch of Picasso called the bull. They used to use that in Apple's training and onboarding, where Picasso drew this, or he had this etch of a bull, and every time he'd take lines away, and he'd take lines away from this sketch until you could just make out it was a bull.
Yeah.
And it is about simplifying. And I think very often people think innovation is adding stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
But very often it's about taking stuff away. It's about all the crap that you added in the last 15 years.
Yeah.
Take it away, take layer by layer away, and and question critically. If I look at an application for a bank account, sometimes just questioning, why do you ask that?
Yeah.
You know what? Why do you ask that? And in some environments we found sometimes they ask something twice. And when I ask, well, why do you have that twice on the form? Don't you think, we can make it more efficient? They go, no, we ask it twice, just in case the customer's trying to commit fraud, because we're going to catch them out if they answer it the first time A and the second time B. I'm going, so you punish. How many million customers you punish? What's your fraud percentage? They go 0.02. Right, you've got to be kidding me. You have to be kidding me that you ask it twice to catch our fraud. And I think it's about stripping those layers away, because if you simplify and you strip the layers away, you get to the real reasons, which is very often systemic culture issues, fear that are just perpetuated from a previous regime that no longer, there's no longer a fraud police, but that's the way we've done things for 30 years. And we can keep on doing that unless someone, crazy with a pink brand comes in and tells us, hey, you need to think different.
So that's interesting, because I read, and I can't remember the source, so forgive me, but just before Christmas, there's loads of 2019 trends coming up. So there's lots of reports that come out, obviously pre-Christmas. And, but there was one that caught my eye, and they talked about a trend around simplicity and minimalism coming our way in terms of a trend. I think it was in a design publication. But I just thought it was I actually agreed with it. I was like, it's really interesting, because I just think we've just got so much stuff. There's just so many things happening, just, everywhere in the world right now. And it's kind of, I think sometimes we just have to take a slightly pragmatic and simplistic view on things, because often that wins through better than trying to build something really complex and innovative. Actually, it's just the simplest things that people want or even need. So, yeah. Absolutely.
And I mean, I'm a little bit of a junkie. I love Marie Kondo's new series on Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
About decluttering. And I think the inherent philosophy there, whether you're decluttering your home or decluttering your wardrobe, it's about, asking that question, what sparks joy?
Yeah.
And in our jobs, and like I as a leader of a small startup organization, I did not want to put a lot of rules down. But the one rule that I do have for my team is, you got to do what you love.
Yes.
And if you hate doing something, you've got to bring it to the table. So every month we have a retrospective. We get together as a team. We do a retrospective and we go, well, what did you love? What did you loathe? What did you long for? And what did you learn? And we do that retrospective religiously. Yes. And the stuff that people loathe, we either find someone else to do it, or we find that we need to build a skill to make it more. So, listen, everybody's going to do stuff that they don't like.
Indeed.
And I think I listened to Seth Godin's podcast the other day, and he was saying, there's this whole overrated thing about being authentic and authenticity. And he said there's like a balance between, being authentic and being professional. It's like a surgeon. If a surgeon's like doing surgery on you and he's really not feeling like it, you do not want him to be authentic. You do not want him to say, hey, I don't feel like doing this right now. You know what? Just, I've opened you up. Just like lie here until I feel like coming back. All right. Then it's when professionalism comes into it, saying, hey, I might not feel, I'm not like 100% into the surgery. Maybe I've got a little bit of a headache, but my professionalism and my oath that I took is going to make me do the absolute best job that I can. So you obviously do not want the surgeon to be, authentic. So when he doesn't feel like doing things. So that brings, and that really kind of opened my eyes for, I believe in authenticity. I believe in people saying, hey, I show up with my emotions as I am. And in that acknowledgement saying, I know I need to be professional. I feel sad, or I feel angry, or I feel pissed off about something, but I'm going to be actually professional and the best I can be right in this moment with who I am. And that goes back to our first love about bringing humanity back into work. So with the permission to show up as you are, there comes the ownership and the responsibility to say, yes, show up as you are. Yeah. But understand it's a lot about, and it's not about the brand that you get your pay slip from. It's about the brand that you are. So if I cannot make anyone be excited about a brand, but I can make them establish pride in who they are and what they do. If you can get someone to do something for themselves, who they are and what they want to be known for. Often we say, like, don't wait for a gravestone. Like, don't put a gravestone on your grave that says, here lies Steve, he was ... It's more about having that lifestone saying, hey, I'm Steve and this is what I stand for. This is what I want to be known for.
Yeah.
And we've actually done that exercise with people to say, well, what do you want to be known for? Pick that thing and then design it into everything you do.
Fantastic. And it's and it connects with their inner self and their own essence. And there's a strong connection then in terms of, that gives you the authenticity, but in a much more natural way, for sure. Yeah. So to finish off, I have a quick question, which I think I mentioned to you before we jumped on this podcast. Okay, let's go straight for that one, actually. So can I ask, what is on the website? You have some merchandise, which I think is fantastic. I've never come across a business that has their own merch. I think it's brilliant. However, there was one that caught my eye, apart from the t-shirts, which was the fuck off spray, which I thought I was obviously immediately intrigued to ask the question, what on earth is that?
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I will talk you through the fuck off spray, but just around the whole merchandise. So, I mean, BrandLove, we didn't want to create an additional revenue stream. It was much more, what we realized in our work is people have so little permission to actually say what's really going on. And therefore the t-shirts and some of the t-shirts have messages like, fart when I hug you, because that'll make people think like I'm really strong. And no is a full sentence. So we kind of picked the things that we saw was very topical, where people really struggled to actually say what they wanted to say. And the t-shirt gives a little bit of a tongue-in-cheek permission. But the fuck off spray specifically, we did this for a conference. So I've got a little bottle here. It's got a little unicorn on the front. And we did it for a conference just as a funny thing. And we actually priced it, and we've got directions for use. And I'll just quickly tell you. So it's pure water. We've just said here hydroxyic acid, 100% acyl repellent, 99%. There's a bit of a warning here. Frequent use may lead to a person becoming upset and avoiding contact. Use responsibly. And then there's instructions of how you should use this. And so when someone's annoying you, take the fuck off spray in a dramatic manner. Give adequate warning that their continued annoyance will lead to being sprayed. Ensure you're about 15 centimeters away from the annoyance point and spray. Wait a few seconds for the annoyance to fuck off. If annoyance persists, repeat direction. So we just did this because we thought it was funny. And then at this conference, we sold out. We sold out. We had a card machine and people bought boxes of the stuff. Okay, so 30 rands in South Africa, that's about $2. $2. And we sold out. And I kind of just use it as an experiment to say, well, this to me, we see people really struggling with boundaries in corporate environments. We see a lot of bullying going on. We see a lot of people unable to ask for what they need. We see a lot of people unable to say no, unable to say, well, I'd love to do that, but not now. I'm at full capacity. Yeah. So we just see people bending over, not delivering, getting into constant trouble because they're not delivering, totally overcommitting, and then sitting with heaps of resentment. And this little experiment of ours where we sold out the fuck off spray was really for me just a confirmation that this is hard. And I mean, some of our clients go like, I need some more of that stuff. And they literally use it in their offices. They go and then people walk away.
Fantastic.
Now,
You know
now
what?
I personally find it quite rude when my team does that with me. I'm not saying I don't deserve it, but I find it quite rude. but just the tongue in cheek, and I mean, we've had people all over the world, wanting this stuff. Now it's a tiny bit expensive shipping it, but I mean, I recommend if you really want it, just make your own.
There's three learnings in that: experiment and try things. The second thing is do things that's tongue in cheek. And the third thing is there's always a serious undertone to most things. And that shows that it clearly highlighted that there's also some serious things, as you mentioned, in the workplace that need to be addressed, even with a spray of water.
Absolutely. And I say often to our customers, I go, you know what, we're the friend who'll tell you you've got spinach in your teeth or your fly's open. We're not gonna hang around and give you reams and reams of documents that'll tell you what's wrong without telling you how to fix it. And I think it's that pragmatism and our passion just for, having a bit of fun and not taking things so seriously, but also addressing the real issues. And the real issues is that people do not know how to defend their boundaries. And they often talk about toxic cultures. And I ask them, well, if you feel strongly about your values, why aren't you protecting your values? Yeah. Because if you're waiting for someone on a white horse to come riding across the hill with a beautiful sunset, I have news for you. Nobody's coming. And I think in my career, I spent too much time waiting for someone to come and rescue me when I wasn't taking ownership of my time, of my intellectual development, of what I can give back to this world.
Yeah, wonderful. And can I just ask one last thing? Because there was one thing I noticed on LinkedIn, Chantel, was you love to share stuff, models and journey maps and all sorts of array of stuff. And I think that's such an amazing thing. So I just wonder if you had anything for the listeners that we could share, or any toolkits or anything that you'd be open to sharing. I'd obviously be happy to put the link on the site and share it out, share the love.
Absolutely. So I think when I thought about this, there's a few things that I want to share. So I've put together a little survival toolkit for 2019 for your viewers. Yeah. And what I've got in that toolkit is the first tool is around reverse engineering your future. So I'm going to give you a little pack where you can imagine that you're in November 2019. And you're presenting to your leadership team all the amazing stuff you've delivered in 2019. And then you're going to reverse engineer your plans from there. So that's one thing I've got. And then I'd also love to share with people just how to do a bit of persona development, how to do empathy mapping. And I'll put all of that in a kit which people can read the instructions and download the worksheets.
Perfect. Thank you so much for that. And no, I think that first one, I think I might be using that one as well. That sounds amazing. So, but look, thank you, and look, thank you so much for your time. That brings us to the end of the podcast. And look, thank you so much for all of sharing your thoughts and ideas. And wishing you all the very best for the future.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I absolutely love talking to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Chantel. Take care now.
Thanks.
And there you have it, another episode of the Experienced Designers podcast. Thank you so much to Chantel. It was an absolute pleasure to have met you. And of course, as always, I will be putting links up on the website to Chantel, as well as links to the 2019 Survival Toolkit. So if you like what you hear, please share, like, comment. It goes an awfully long way to really building the momentum and movement that we're trying to create across the globe. So until the next time, thank you so much for listening, and see you again soon. Thank you.